e-commerce marketplace. We have 4 panelists with us today. Allow me to introduce them to you, please. First, we have Biki Khosla, CEO Trade India. Biki revolutionized the .com industry in trade, connecting buyers and sellers from across the globe and facilitating easy and smooth business. He conceptualized Infocom Network Limited in 1991 and released India's first ever directory on Indian manufacturers and exporters called the Exporters Yellow Page. This was closely followed by the launch of India's first B2B portal, TradeIndia.com. Next, we have Mr. Brajesh Agarwal, the co-founder of Tolexco.com, India's only online store for business and industry responsible for business expansion, process automation, and productivity enhancement. Our third speaker is Mr. Latif Nathani, the Managing Director of eBay India. Latif is responsible for leading the eBay business in this country. With over 22 years of experience, he is an active evangelist of e-commerce's transformational potential for both Indian online shoppers and entrepreneurs. Most recently, Latif served as the CEO of a product strategy consulting firm in San Francisco, among his other roles. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to your moderator, Mr. Sandeep Ladda, Partner, India Technology Sector Leader, PwC. He is also a part of PwC's Global Technology, Infocom, and E&M leadership team. He has created thought leaderships for PwC India in e-commerce and in other sectors. He was recently ranked as the #1 global spokesperson within the entire PwC network on a global basis for the technology, Infocom, and E&M sectors for the second quarter as well as the fourth quarter in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming with a round of applause our panelists and moderator. We also have Mr. Manoj Gupta from craftsvilla.com who will be joining our panel today. He was just making his way from another session, so welcome, sir. And before I hand over this session to our moderator, there's one more person. We also have Manish Chandra from Shoploose coming in, and I think he'll be making his way over. Now, unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of bad news and tell you that we have a hard stop at about 6 o'clock, so that doesn't leave too much time. This was originally scheduled for 45 minutes, but perhaps we can take the question portion that was 15 minutes offline. So with that, over to you, Sandeep.
Hello. Yeah, I was hoping to have the balanced 2 panelists also on board because I thought we missed them out. Thank you, everyone. So without much ado, what I will do is spend probably the next 10-15 minutes with all the panelists here, which is representing a good variety of the marketplace today. And then probably open up for 10 minutes for a Q&A round with everyone here on the floor. So should I start, on my left extreme with Biki? Biki, why don't you, provide some perspectives around what is a marketplace about? How is it different from the inventory model? And whether one should probably look at only marketplace versus a combination of an inventory versus a marketplace, different categories? Is omni-channel something that companies should be going in for?
Sure. Let me just explain what marketplace is. Today, if you look at all the big players we have in the market, like eBay, ShopeeClue, Flipkart, Snapdeal, or Amazon, they're all going the marketplace way. It is the difference between a marketplace and an inventory-based is marketplace, they have different sellers who come on, showcase their products, and they sell their products. While in an inventory-based, these platforms tend to buy the goods, stock them, and sell them. So that's the difference. Actually, they're both allowed in India, But if I go into FDI, that's where the problem is. FDI in B2B, business to business, is allowed in India 100%. So the marketplace concept becomes a business to business. So that's why that is what is being followed here today. Inventory based is they will be buying the goods, stocking them, and shipping them. Now both have their pluses and minuses. And if I'm looking at you trying to sell your goods, I would say a marketplace model works better for you because you just have to put your products there. They are going to help you get the buyers. And if you go into inventory-based yourself, being a small player, getting the traffic the customer acquisition is a very costly affair. So that may not work for you. But as a retailer or, you being in a marketplace and selling on different markets would be a great idea. And I would say, if I was a retailer, a small retailer, and try to sell my goods, I would not restrict myself by selling on one marketplace because traffic there is different on different marketplaces, though there may be some common too. So I would go and list myself. But once, if FDI is allowed in B2C, which a lot of companies are trying to get, I think inventory-based model also could help you also, because as a small trader or a manufacturer, you will be able to sell your goods in wholesale to these big platforms who could then further sell them. So that's how I look at these two models. And I think both the models would work, But right now, I think the marketplace model is what is working here till FDI is done.
Thanks, Becky. And you did touch upon one of the most important agendas before the government today, which is kind of unresolved in terms of the FDI and e-commerce. We come to that probably shortly. So moving on from there, I'll come to you, Latif, next. You've been here probably a decade now, a global company, eBay. And you really speaking are the true marketplace model as such. How do you see yourself? So if you were to start a new venture today, and there are so many of them out here who want to come up and do their own marketplaces, would you address the seller side first and try and inspire more sellers to come onto your platform? Or would you inspire more buyers to come on first? Will it be a combination of both? What weightage would you really put on either of them?
Okay. Thank you. So just in terms of background, eBay was one of the first e-commerce companies in India. We have been here for about 10 years. We complete 10 years next month. And during this 10 years, we have established a significant presence in terms of the number of sellers. So we have more than 50,000 sellers on our platform today, 30,000 plus of which sell domestically. And more than 15,000 of our sellers sell across the 203 countries that eBay has buyers, approximately 152 million buyers in. So we definitely have been here. We have created a large ecosystem. To your questions, the seller and buyer, what we are creating is an ecosystem. So we need both sellers and buyers. But what eBay has tried to create is we have tried to create a marketplace where there are multiple sellers vying for the business. And that's the competition which gets the buyers the best choice, the best variety, and the best price. So we have tried that in creating that, and we have been very successful because today eBay operates the largest shopping mall online. We have more than 3 crore products from these 50,000 plus sellers. So I would say, sellers and buyers are both important to the ecosystem and for a healthy ecosystem and marketplace to operate.
That's quite a wide variety and quite a scale that you're operating today at. And yeah, Brijesh, you want to?
Just one point to add to this. See, the biggest reason why a lot of shoppers go online is because of the variety of products which is available. So if we were to look at what is it that we need to necessarily build, even if you have lesser number of sellers but a large variety of products that you can offer, I think your job is done.
I think you also put it right, Brijesh. So just one follow-on question, Brijesh, to you. What do you think are the top two or three challengers, and we have a lot of people here wanting to come online and wanting to sell their goods and be a marketplace. What are the top two or three challenges a typical marketplace would face in India?
So our experience has been that a lot of these challenges are essentially seller-side challenges rather than buyer-side challenges. Aggregating buyers has been a lot more easier because you could have very targeted marketing to get them on board. The challenges on the seller side have been, number one, from a seller standpoint, the seller says, show me the volume, and then I would have inventory available with me to service the customers. Whereas when you start off, you don't have visibility into what is going to sell and what is not going to sell. The buyers would expect that as soon as they place an order, the goods are shipped in the next 24 hours, next 48 hours at max, so that they can have a quicker delivery. So therefore, this whole conflict between what to keep in stock and what not to keep in stock becomes very, very critical. And the biggest challenge that we've been facing so far is visibility into the inventory that a seller has with himself. Number two, a lot of sellers who are selling online today, of course, thanks to eBay, a lot of them have been trained, but specifically in the area where we cater to, which are the business goods, these are offline sellers not tuned to sell online, which means they know how to deal with customers offline. But when it comes to packaging in a certain fashion, delivering the goods quickly with a quick turnaround time, they essentially cannot manage that part of the business. So that's the next challenge as to how do we make sure that the mindset of these sellers essentially changes to something that works online extremely well. The third and the last most important piece is that most of these sellers, by the way, are looking at a completely managed offering, wherein whether it is with respect to payments or it is with respect to packaging of goods, whether it is with respect to delivery, the returns of the goods, can somebody do it all for them rather than they having to do that part of the business? So building a service which does all of this requires considerable amount of time and effort to be put in. And that's the third challenge that we experience today in Tolexo for that matter.
Latif, on the second one, do you want to provide some inputs around how do you, come across with sellers? How do you make sure that the sellers are up to speed or, trying to match up with your systems, etc.? So what do you do? What are the two things or one thing that you would do with your sellers so as to make sure that they are onboarded well, etc.? So any thoughts around that?
Right. So I think he identified a very fundamental challenge that we all face, which is that e-commerce is very nascent in India. And although we have been, as I mentioned, been here for 10 years, the number of sellers on eBay is still a fraction of what the Indian market has. Like I was mentioning earlier, we have signed a MOU with the Confederation of All India Traders that has 6 crore traders in India. And we are working with CIT to enable e-commerce education with them, to enable these sellers to come online and get the benefits of e-commerce. But it is quite challenging because it is different when you have a physical retail store and you're selling versus selling in the virtual environment. There are aspects that become very important, such as the picture quality, the listing description, customer service, and most importantly, the feedback and reputation. So one of the key fundamentals of eBay, and that has been around for 20 years, has been the feedback mechanism and the rating. So whenever somebody comes to buy a product from a seller, they are able to identify, what kind of a seller is this. So that's where, in terms of what Brajesh was saying, in terms of the number of sellers, the buyer always benefits when there are multiple sellers competing for your business. And so that's where, you want the competition to happen. You want to provide the seller, the buyer, the best experience, the best product, and the best service.
So I have been ignoring my right-hand side for quite some time now. I might as well turn on the right. So just taking a cue from there, and what do you think marketplace firms can do better in terms of making sure that not only the information about the sellers is put right, but also maybe, the product And my question, this is to you, Manish. And how do you have a better classification or curation of the entries that are coming in? Or whether it is a more supplier integration into your own system. So what are the one or two things that companies can do to integrate the sellers better, to have a proper display or representation of information around the products and the sellers themselves, so that the buyer who visits your site is able to relate to your site much better than the competition, and therefore there is a higher traffic flowing, which is getting more conversion on your site.
Am I audible? Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I wanted to give a little twist to the discussion. So we talked about challenges from the merchant side. So e-commerce marketplaces today are facing challenges, which is most of the challenges are pretty common across industries and companies which are growing at this space. Certain challenges are pretty unique to a marketplace, e-commerce. We talked about the merchant side challenge. How do we onboard merchants? How do we create an ecosystems where the merchants flourish, the community feeling is created. The other big challenge is creating trust. Trust within the customers, the buyers community. And trust happens with a series of events. So he comes on your site, he looks, first of all, he gets aware of your site. So there is someone who's going to tell him about the site, or he's going to visit some place and figure out what ShopClues is, come to your site, look at the products, then make a purchase, making it sure that the experience is anxiety-free, the payments are happening properly. Then once the purchase has happened, ensuring that there are right touch points for him to be made aware of where his product is, if there is a problem in the delivery, or if the delivery has not happened properly. There are touch points which are given to the customer through which he can get in touch with us. So all those touch points, once joined together, create a trust. In terms of seller rating or product, something which Mr. Nathani touched, take the case of Google. You search for a word, you find million of results, but the first page or the top part of the page is the most relevant search result for you. And that's something that we have to incorporate at the marketplace also. So we at ShopClues, we have around 1.25 lakh sellers, more than 2 million products. And if you search, for example, if you search for an insect killer today, which is a very unstructured product, you will probably see around 500 items. So how do you create a system where the best product or a combination of variables come into picture? For example, products with the best rating, merchants with the best rating, product near to you, keeping all those variables, tying them together and showcasing the item to the customer. That's where the trust starts. That's where the changes or the things that we have to do at our end to create. That's the first step of creating that trust factor.
So very, very relevant aspect around trust, building trust with your customer. But in an ever-evolving, marketplace models that we are working with, everybody trying to get that space. Manoj, how do you see, attracting the buyers? Because we talked about the seller side a lot. From a buyer perspective, we see that only 2% of the traffic that really comes on these sites do get converted into actual customers. And therefore, there is a very large customer acquisition cost that one is paying today. So how do you see yourself, if you were to attract more customers and convert some of those customers on your website, having done the right things on the supplier side and everything is perfect and you're good to go, etc. How would you, like that the customers not only get converted at a better rate, but also you are having some alternative strategies to reduce the cost of acquisition?
Yeah, so, at craftseller.com, basically the way our average order value is and the way our conversions are, we pretty much recover our customer acquisition cost in the first purchase. Pretty unique in that case. And the reason why we do that is that because we have a very unique supply. We are very uniquely placed in terms of type of products and those kind of stuff. A lot of customers who come to us come through word of mouth, those kind of stuff. So the way you have to tackle the customer acquisition cost is, you have to have certain way of attracting customers, which is not through paid mediums. It has to be through organic mediums. It has to be, word of mouth, believe me, is the best way to get your customers. Paid mediums today is very hard. It's just, any keyword you take, any slot you want, is just extremely competitive. The horizontal players are just bidding on every keyword, whatever there in this planet. So if you are up against that, if you are up against $1 billion funding, it is just very, very difficult. So you have to play your game a little bit differently in e-commerce today. You have to have your metrics right. You have to have some sort of story, very clear story to customer that this is what I am and this is what I'm going to present to you. All value proposition, for example, is that we will give you the largest variety, right? And that because of that, we also have the lowest price guarantee on a lot of our products. So that basically works well for us. So basically, I think going through inorganic mediums like paid advertising is just too costly right now. Yeah.
All right. So we've covered a few areas. What I will probably now do, we have a hard stop at 6. Unfortunately, it's a very interesting conversation going on. I had a lot of questions here, but what we'll do is just open the floor for a few questions, and maybe then I'll try and wind up with a series of questions that I'll probably ask the panelists, so that we can take some message out here, out from this particular seminar out here. So, any questions from the floor? Maybe you can, if you want to direct it to somebody. Yeah, one we have over there, red T-shirt there, please. If you can direct it to somebody, it will be better, or if you have no direction, maybe I can then.
Hi, this is Anurag. I just want to have a question to Latif. What is the marketing challenge if we talk about the inventory model and the marketplace model? Marketing challenge when I say, is it about marketing to any particular brand, marketing for any particular seller, and that's it. Yeah.
Sure. So I think in terms of marketing challenges, in terms of both models, they are pretty similar. And it is basically just like what would be regular marketing in terms of creating your brand, creating your presence, creating your trust. So all the fundamental hygiene factors are very, very important, whether you have an inventory-led model or a marketplace model. So they are pretty much similar. Where the two differ is in terms of the entire experience, in terms of whether you're holding inventory. So in terms of your capital needs and things like that is where it would be different. But in terms of both marketplace and inventory-led model, they're pretty much similar marketing challenges.
Hello.
Thank you.
So my name is Shanu Singh. So I know it's a great thing that marketplaces in India are really coming up, and that providing a platform to small sellers also to sell on the platform and connect to the buyers. So in a way that you're trying to organize the small time and organized guys on your platform, so which is good for them. But and at the same time, you guys also try to bring the larger brands or established corporate brands products to sell on the marketplaces. So what challenge do you face, if you face? Because I'm sure those brands again would have some reservation in participating marketplaces where the small guys also participating, and they would have this fear that they might be diluting the brand name. So what challenges do you face? And if you're asking the question from the brand side, why they should participate in marketplace? Because there's a fear that they'll be diluting the brand. Thank you.
So any particular, okay, Manish.
So couple of points around it. Where would the brands go? Brands would follow where the customers are going. So that's one part of the story. Second, why is a brand needed on the marketplace? So what is marketplace? Marketplace is a reflection of the e-commerce that happens in India. It's a mix of unstructured bazaars, malls, brand stores. So eventually, if you are creating a reflection, then all these things have to happen on the place. So just wanted to take a stab on why the brands should exist on the marketplace, and someone
so
else would like.
I'll just add that because, again, in terms of the number of sellers, we have the max. We are an open marketplace, so anybody can come and start selling. And, we are fortunate to have on our platform big brands like a Chroma, Gitanjali, Shoppers Stop, who sell on eBay. At the same time, I was mentioning earlier, we have sellers who are out of the slums like Dharavi. So we provide a platform that is agnostic of the size of the seller. And we provide a platform that is available and applicable to, whatever the size. And so we rationalize the fact that, you're a big merchant or a small merchant, because online, it depends on what kind of service you're providing, which determines how successful you are.
Can I just? Yeah. I'll also just add to it, basis what Manish was saying, whether it is a Chandni Chowk in Delhi or a Lamington Road here in Bombay, don't you get to see brands there? Some of the world's best known brands, Coke, Pepsi, are available in a dhaba somewhere. Right? Why? Because it sells there. By the way, if you have demand, brands will follow that demand for sure. Don't worry about it. And they should, because they essentially have to sell. What one has to be cautious about is that the whole experience and the expectation with which a customer buys that brand, that should not be diluted. If somebody is diluting that, the brands may choose not to be there. And that is not in the interest of any of the marketplaces for that matter. They would want to maintain that experience for them, for sure.
Maintaining quality would be a bigger issue on this marketplace. And how does analytics helps you to do that? See, when you have got 50,000 suppliers and some 3 crore products, so maintaining the quality would be a challenging task. And how do you use analytics to improve it? Any thoughts?
Brijesh, you want to take that?
You're saying
Analytics.
Quality of products or quality of the experience that the user has? Okay, so couple of things. One, of course, when you look at products which are fairly standard products or products that come from a specific brand, you generally, are quite sure about what is the sort of quality of product that you're going to get. The real challenge in the quality of product comes in when you're looking at products that come from lesser known producers. You look at products that could be faked by sellers. So essentially, when you're onboarding a seller is the time when you choose what sort of sellers do you want to really onboard. If you onboard the right sort of sellers, you would have actually taken a good call on having only the right sort of products being available on the platform. So it's less to do with products, more to do with the kind of sellers that you would have.
Yeah, to add to that, I would say, if you're getting too many returns or quality issues from a particular supplier, obviously that is getting mapped somewhere. And that will start affecting, and obviously showing and displaying his products goes lower and lower. So that is another way to handle that.
One last question over there. Yeah.
This question is directed to Mr. Latif and Manish from Zopclus. Since marketplaces are dependent on sellers, I just wanted to know how important the sellers are to the marketplaces and what programs do you have to retain the sellers?
Programs.
You have to retain the sellers, not on board, retain them.
Manish, you want to take that first?
Okay. So the first part of the question was answered by Mr. Latif, that sellers are important, and we think no differently. It's a platform. Platform has to be fair. Both the buyers as well as the sellers have to be equally treated. ShopClues has close to 1.25 lakh merchants, as I mentioned, And creating that community is important. So we have done certain things. Last year, we were doing merchant forums, wherever summits like these were done with merchants. We have a Shoploose University where merchants get to know about the selling part on Shoploose, as well as in general things about e-commerce. We have a team. We have a set of teams dedicated to harvest the sellers. We have category account managers who keep in touch with the sellers. So there are certain things which are there to keep the sellers warm, to keep that channel open where they can come and talk to us. So yeah, a lot of things.
Okay. So again, as I said earlier, it's an ecosystem where both buyers and sellers are important, because as a marketplace, we love our sellers and our sellers love us. But in terms of services that we provide, it starts with onboarding, starts with education. So like I was mentioning earlier, we have lots of resources that we spend on regular training and webinars. Every month we actually train thousands of sellers on our platform, as well as best practices. We also have our training not only in English, but in addition we have it in 6 local languages as well. We also have a Seller Central, where sellers can see analytics. So they get to see how they are doing. Again, depending on the size of the seller, they may have a dedicated account manager who actually consults with them in terms of promotions, in terms of growing their business. And one of the most sort of satisfying experiences I have is when I'm going across the country and I'm meeting with sellers who have been long-time sellers on eBay, and they take me around and they point to various things like their house or their car, and and they tell me, saying this is because of them being an eBay seller for 10 whatever years. So it's an ecosystem that only works if we continue supporting our sellers in a big way and help them grow and help them grow their business, which is what we are committed to.
So I just wanted to add a point here. So you wanted us to be in touch with you, but really, if you ask me, we want to create a system where sellers don't have to come to, us. The platform should in itself take care of things. I'll give you a couple of examples. So Shoploose has a Sunday flea market, pretty popular, a lot of unstructured items. So the entire set of around 500 items which get sold there, sellers themselves post their items, they buy that slot, and automatically they are selected to be positioned. So that's how a big part of their sales is generated. We have also created a mechanism, some of them have been already launched, and some are in the pipeline, where sellers can promote their stores on their own on the platform, by bidding for keywords or creating coupons or discounts, just as you do in your offline world on your own. And from platform point of view, we will create those avenues or channels through which the customers can reach to those specific programs which the seller is running. So yeah, create the ecosystem such that the seller does not feel the need, give him, arm him enough so that he does not feel the need to come to us. But yes, if there is a reason to come, then definitely hear him out and do whatever you could.
Just to sum this up from my side, as a marketplace, we have now 2 customers. एक तो जो खरीद रहा है, दूसरा जो बेच रहा है. So अब दोनों ही भगवान हो आप हमारे लिए, जितने भी sellers हो वो भी और जितने खरीद रहे हो वो भी. And I can tell you this is actually true. Both of them have to be treated like gods if a marketplace has to do well. Absolutely.
You rightly summed it.
All right. So just quickly, budget is around the corner. This Saturday we probably are going to have one of the most talked about budgets, right? So why don't we talk to this panel in terms of their 1 or 2 wish that they would like to see, gives either some fillip to this industry or resolves some controversies that this industry has been in discussions for quite a few months now. So starting with you, where do you see, Vicky, what are the one or two elements that you think government should resolve?
What I think, I'm just talking about it from the e-commerce industry point of view. There are a lot of regulatory issues and taxation issues. So GST, the minute GST is rolled out, all these issues will get resolved. I know GST cannot come immediately, but I think they should do something about the GST and resolve these issues. And if this industry, e-commerce industry, has to grow, which currently I believe is about 5 billion, and in the next 5 years, I had stated somewhere 19 billion, but I was corrected by the CFO of Flipkart that it would be 90 billion. So it's all happening. And believe me, anytime anybody says something, you think it's not possible, but it's happening. So taxation issues and GST would be a big boost, and if the budget or the government looks at that, that'll be a big boost to this industry.
So, according to one report, and I was with last week, I was doing this launch of our e-commerce propositions, and Flipkart CFO Sanjay was always there, and we talked about being 137 billion industry by 2020. So those are the numbers we are talking about. That is the growth that we are talking about. That's the opportunity that we are talking about. So it's massive, and definitely something that the government should consider doing for this industry. The moment if today Karnataka has stood up with a VAT issue, and if there are 5 states who probably are looking at doing something like that, that's what we are hearing, then certainly we would not want governments to impede. We would like governments to provide substance and provide base and provide impetus to some of the players who are wanting, some of you who are wanting to come into this space and do something more better. So certainly something absolutely spot on, and we need to have the government do something better for the industry. Brijesh.
I'm really sorry, sir, just before you speak, we've sort of run out of time, but we have time for one last line from everybody.
All right, just a quick line, short. Maybe one line.
So I won't say much. I only remember, as a response to your question, remember a song from the film Lutera. मुझे छोड़ दो मेरे हाल पे, जिंदा हूँ यार काफ़ी है. That's what I expect from the government. Let them leave us. We'll do a lot better than what we are able to do with regulation. I think we're good with that.
Thanks. Lateef, anything else from your side?
So one of the key things, just to differentiate, is we have a lot of sellers who sell cross-border across the globe, and we have asked the government to simplify export regulations for the small merchants and small sellers.
Okay. From your side?
I think pretty much I would echo that taxation, GST is something, what I'm looking forward. Yeah.
Okay. Manish?
So I'm not an expert on taxation, but from a different perspective, make it transparent and make it digital so that I am able to tell to my seller that if you are shipping your item from Delhi to West Bengal, then the amount of tax that you need to pay, and when the customer is buying, so I have the ability to tell to the customer that following are the things. So don't keep on papers, don't make us run, keep it digital.
GST hopefully should solve that. Thank you. Thank you everyone for a patient discussion here and a very useful conversation. Thank you to the panelists.